We have breaking news in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Sheldon Keefe has been let go. We're going to discuss his coaching record and what comes next for the team coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs have announced that Sheldon Keefe has been let go and will be replaced. It's time for a coaching change. According to GM Brad Treliving, Sheldon Keefe is a great coach and a great man, but it's time for a new voice, is what his statement indicated here. So obviously we know that Leafs management will be speaking tomorrow. I fully suspected this announcement would come today, as we've talked about in videos over the past day or two, knowing that, Treliving, Shanahan, and Keith Pelly would speak Friday. With the uncertainty around Keefe and all the reports from NHL insiders saying they really felt that he was most likely gone, this does not come as a surprise that the announcement comes today. Usually they would take a couple days to kind of mull it over, make a firm decision, announce it today, and talk tomorrow. During Keefe's run with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he was technically in the organization for 9 years, counting his time with the Toronto Marlies of the American Hockey League, where he first started and won a championship in 2018. Obviously, he was brought in by Kyle Dubas. Dubas, obviously, at one point was the AHL GM before he was the full GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization when he was an assistant. He had a good run with a good record, but ultimately playoff record and lack of success in the playoffs is what led to the change and to his ultimate demise as the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had a really good record, a .665 winning percentage, 212 wins, 97 losses, and 40 OT losses. You're not going to get a whole lot better than that. 3 consecutive 100-point seasons. He had just signed after last year when Brad Treliving took over. They did give him a 2-year contract extension, which was just ready to kick in here. So, of course, Sheldon Keefe doesn't have to worry too much financially, but at the same time, will there be other opportunities for him? This could set off potential chain of events with other teams. We'll have to wait and see. There's been a lot of speculation and a lot of talk that, there's been a rift or, I don't know what you want to call a power struggle, if you will, between Mike Sullivan and Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh, and that ultimately it could result in Sullivan leaving. He does have a long-term contract in Pittsburgh, so it would be complicated to move on from that, and that there were some rumors that he might end up with the Devils. I will have to see if any of that is true, or it could have some degree of truth to it, but may not play out. Either way, I do wonder the domino effect here, if you will. But like I said, ultimately, Keefe's record in the playoffs, 16 wins and 21 losses, including a lot of losses at home. The inability to score from the top guys in the playoffs, ultimately one of the, if not the biggest reason why they failed to have playoff success. 1 series win in 5 years for Keefe as the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's a good run. Lots of regular season success, but as we've said before, that team not getting over the hump in the playoffs is ultimately why he's out, and ultimately why they're likely going to see other fairly significant change within the organization. As far as who could replace Keefe behind the bench in Toronto, I think Guy Boucher as an assistant there is a potential candidate. I'm not real sure that he's the guy for them. They said they were going to evaluate the assistant coaches once they determine the new head coach first. I think Guy Boucher was brought in mainly if they would have had to make a change in season, that he had enough experience between his time in Tampa and Ottawa that he could have taken over the reins as head coach on an interim basis to finish up the season. He was looking after the power play. The power play was atrocious. I don't know that Guy Boucher is the right coach for them, but I do think he'll at least get some consideration. Craig Berube's name has been the more prominent name that's been out there, and we'll see if there's any truth to that. We know Berube, based on what Elliotte Friedman said this morning on his podcast regarding the Ottawa Senators, was that there was some discussions for sure, and that as much as they want to clarify his comments the other day about money being a factor, it was more so that Craig Berube can call a shot, and he said that Berube never really got too far because he feels that there's better options out there for him that he would be better suited for. And the Leafs could be one of them. He's also been linked to the Devils. But I know Berube is probably the hottest name on the coaching world right now that's looking for work because he does have a recent Stanley Cup to his name. So, and he is a former player who played a really tough style of game, and maybe he'd be that kind of guy that could help them. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, he will be considered, I'm sure. I mean, we get Todd McClellan out there. Dean Evison is out there. They're all looking for work. I'm not really sure who the best fit and best candidate could be for them, but, ultimately we'll have to see. They also have John Gruden with their Toronto Marlies organization, who's was linked to Ottawa for a long time because of the connection there with Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios, but ultimately they went in a different direction. So would they promote their bench boss from the Marlies? Hard to say. Either way, we'll find out probably here in the not too distant future. Some of these top names like Berube, if they're going to compete to hire him, they're going to have to get on it ASAP, and I suspect it won't take too long to have a decision made on who the new bench boss is in Toronto. So let me know your thoughts on Keefe's firing, who should replace him, and how this will help the team moving forward. Down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you all up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.